Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out. Great to be speaking to the astute mind of trainer Andy Lee ahead of Joseph Parker's fight with Zhilei Zhang. Andy, I'll give you an introduction. You got something good. How you doing?
Thanks. Good. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. All the better for speaking to yourself. Look, it sounds like it's so simple, but the confidence must be so sky high for Joe Parker after his big win over Deontay Wilder that confidence must help him set up the victory against Zhilei Zhang. How much of a factor for fighters is that confidence? It sounds easy, it's a big factor, but really how much does it bring out of a fighter?
Yeah, confidence and momentum, but the winning of big fights like that, big tests, I think it just self-esteem at all-time high for Joseph, and just the belief in himself. Yeah, that's what winning does for you.
I saw the interview with Boxing News and you drew a little picture and you're looking for the left hook knockout. I'm sure there are other avenues to success, but do you feel that the best route for victory for Joe is to go and search for that KO?
I think the best route for victory, in all honest opinion, would be to box smart early, try not to take any or as little as punishment as possible. Not bank on it, but you'd have to imagine that Zhang will slow down and not be as dangerous in the second half of the fight because he's 40 years old, has a lot of miles on the clock, and he's shown in the past that he does slow down, even though he's still dangerous. So I think it's to be smart early on. Pick your spots, don't get greedy, move, head movements, similar to the Wilder fight, concentration levels at all time. Keeping your eyes, keep being present, being in the moment. And if there is a chance to take him out with it in later rounds, then go for it. But it's an extremely dangerous fight because Zhang is very clever. Southpaw who waits, stays nice high guard, tucked up, lets you punch first and then counters you, usually at the same time as you punch. So it's a very dangerous fight.
I'm not an expert like you are, but is there much you can take out from the game plan, or at least the type of fighter that Joe Joyce is, and equate that to what Zhilei Zhang is? Maybe not the most mobile, maybe there's angles that can be used on the fighter. Big punches, looking to set those big punches up and the big finishes up, but maybe tires towards the later rounds.
No, I think the Joyce fights are interesting, but Joyce, I think it's an interesting fight, the first fight, because even though Zhang was well ahead, had the swelling not happened on Joyce's eye, he might have caught up with Zhang going down the straight, because Zhang was starting to slow, and you could see that Joyce was starting to get in a bit of a rhythm, but then the swelling happened and it stopped. The second fight, I think Joyce just, confidence was shot, didn't have much of an idea what to do. When he got hit at the end of the second round, went straight back to his normal boxing. Not great reactions, slow punching, was made for Zhang. So it was a good matchup for Zhang in styles.
Is Zhang the big, fearsome fighter that the press, us media, make him out to be? Is he that big, fearsome fighter?
Yeah, he is. He's probably one of the biggest punchers in the division. He's massive in size and stature, and he's a southpaw as well with a great amateur background. So he's a very good fighter.
Joe Parker himself, I know you're keeping a keen eye on Zhilei Zhang. It was a bit of a shame, actually. I saw some interviews with Deontay Wilder, and he came up with some reasons or excuses, you might say, as to why he didn't get the victory over Joe Parker. Did you see those interviews, and were you disappointed that the credit wasn't being given by Wilder to Parker?
Yeah, I think everyone, people underestimate Joseph, you know, and I think everyone didn't give Joseph really the recognition he deserved, because before the fight, Wilder was so dangerous. He was going to fight AJ. But when he was lost to Joseph, all of a sudden he's just an also-ran, you know, he's washed up and he's finished. But that's the way boxing is these days, you know, one loss and you're over the hill. But no, I don't think Joe got the credit he deserved from Wilder or from anybody else.
Why is that? Why do you think he doesn't get that credit? Because he's fought pretty much everyone there is to fight.
Yeah, well, people are going to change their opinion when Joseph gets another win at the weekend. Their perception of Joe will change. all we can do is keep winning. We can't control what people think.
A couple of rematches to target, one being Joshua, one being Joyce, and also Dillian Whyte now back in the frame. Those three in Parker's minds for the future and your mind for the future?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'd like him to have those fights. He'd like to have those fights too. And they're big, exciting fights, aren't they? So, you know, Joe's got to take all these hard fights. No one else is taking these hard fights. Joseph is the only one taking all these hard fights. Taking all the fights nobody else wants, really.
Can I ask you to cast your mind to the main event? Ngannou's proved himself as a worthy fighter, sending Tyson Fury crashing down to the canvas. Why should people not underestimate him in this fight against Joshua?
Because he's a massive man, unit, solid and robust, very hard to hurt. Got an MMA background, very tough, physically big, can punch, and is patient.
When you're two big men in the heavyweight division, but you're in against a bigger man, a really bigger man, as AJ finds himself against Francis Ngannou, mentally, is that a factor when you were in fights, when you were against taller, bigger opponents, maybe you didn't fight the physical advantages? Was that ever something of a concern or something that you'd have to factor in?
Yeah, I think but for the likes of Tyson and AJ, they're always the bigger man in all of their fights, in weight and in height. That wasn't the case when he fought Ngannou. It won't be the case with AJ. So there'll be something that he'll have to deal with. It'll be a new experience for him.
The other thing is, sorry, just let you take a cough. It's the sand, isn't it? It gets at the back of the throat. Take a sip if you want, because I've got a long question for you here. One thing I've noticed here, that Francis Ngannou might not have the most efficient or proficient of jabs, but he has those big, long arms, which Tyson Fury found a problem. Now, he's going to punch, I imagine, with anti-Joshua, which would also be a problem there. But when someone who doesn't have a big jab but has those long arms, how do you counteract that? What do you do to come over that?
Feint. But Ngannou doesn't react to feints. I don't know if he's very calm and patient. And you'd imagine, or you could say that because he's not from a boxing background, he doesn't respect feints because he's not used to seeing it. And guys who, Ngannou is a patient fighter and he's a good fighter. And he has a massive punch, so he's going to be dangerous. He has, like you said, he has extremely long arms too. So, I think he's a good matchup for these guys. And it's a shame for me to say because I hate to see someone just walk in from MMA and challenge the best in the heavyweight boxing. But when you're that size and have those physical attributes, you can do that.
And they haven't caught up you since the news broke about Tyson Fury having to pull out the fight because of the cut. A lot of people kind of criticised him for a myriad of reasons, but the fight is rescheduled. What was your thoughts of people piling in on Fury when cuts happen kind of all the time and it's legitimate reasons?
Well, anybody, you can see the response from anybody who knows boxing or any ex-fighter. It was on just casual people, just, trolls and who criticised him, really. Anyone knows, anybody who's boxed knows that the cut can happen at any time, and they do happen all the time. Sometimes you're not too bad where you can continue to fight, but it's a serious cut, and yes, it's like take a break. Yeah.
Does the delay in time favour anybody at all? Can that point in someone's favour? Because I think Usyk is the older fighter, so maybe a little bit age.
Definitely makes the fight bigger. Builds it bigger, even bigger than it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And you'll leave the final word with you, bringing it back to Joe Parker. What happens in that fight?
What happens in Zhang Zhang? Joe's going to knock him out in the last round. Come on, can I have a donut?
What have you gone for?
Chocolate. Thank you very much.
Andy, you enjoy it. Enjoy the Spoils of War also at the weekend. Thanks for taking us out, sir. Good man.